Hello everyone, this is Shark OW here. Today I'm going to bring you the Overwatch Tank Ultimate tier list for the Tank Ultimates that are currently in the game as of the June 30th patch. So I was going to upload the DPS Ultimate tier list first, but having difficulty uploading that to YouTube right now. I think it might be the size of the video and the length of the video, so this one will most likely be the one that comes up first. So, honestly, let's just get right into it. So, first tank ultimate we're looking at is Orisa with Bongo. So, Bongo provides a flat, I believe it's 25% damage increase to your entire team during its duration. It is something that Orisa puts down, so it's an object in the game. It has 200 health. I guess that's where I'd start with the downside of it, because Orisa plants it down. You can't move it after it's been placed, and it has 200 HP. Most Orisas would just put their barrier down in front of it to protect it, but it's really not that hard to get rid of, if we're being honest. And though extra damage is a good thing, I mean, it's not the best thing in the world either, so I think it's just okay. Nothing too great, nothing too negative about it, nothing all that great either, so I think it's pretty much an average ult, so I'd put it C tier. Next we have Zarya with Graviton Surge. Graviton Surge at one point I would say was the best, or one of like top 3 best ultimates in the entire game, just because of its ability to pull a bunch of members of an enemy team together and then just combo a slew of different ultimates with it. I think it's still pretty good, but nowadays there are a lot of heroes that can get out of it pretty easily with just a use of an ability. So I think of Moira, Reaper, Orisa can get out of it with Fortify. The kind of list goes on. I mean, May can use Ice Block. You can't use movement abilities to get out of it, so Genji can't Quick Strike, Tracer can't blink out of it, Doomfist can't punch out of it. So, it's still pretty good for that purpose. But another thing too is it has been nerfed where the overall pull radius has been decreased, so you have to be more accurate with the ult itself. I still think it's really good. I mean, most of the time you're gonna force out some kind of defensive support ult, so like a Transcendence, Sound Barrier. Like I said before, really good combo ability with this ultimate. So I would say I don't think it is S tier. I think it's A tier. A couple other counters to it would be like Diva with her defense matrix can just cancel it out. She can just eat it. Same with Sigma with his defense matrix like ability, and Genji can't actually deflect it. Also, another thing is if like you throw it and then like maybe an Orisa plants down a shield or a Winston plants down a shield where it's being thrown to, it's gonna bounce off the barrier and it's not gonna go the full distance. So I think it's still a really good ultimate. So I'll put it A tier. Next up we have Sigma. His ultimate is Graviton Flux, I believe it's called. So it's an ult where he picks up all the enemy characters in a circle radius, and those he picks up, when he drops them down, it chunks them out for half of their health that they have remaining. So if a character has 200 HP, it will knock them down to 100. Another thing is they're in the air, and so they really they can't get out of it. That's one plus. So they're just unable to move. Another thing is your team can attack them as well while they're in the air, and then when they come down, they're actually stunned as well. So there's a lot of things going on with this ultimate. A couple of counterplay things, I guess, would be that you do get a visual indicator of about, I think it's roughly a second of where it's going to be. So maybe if you're just like not smack dab in the middle of it, you can just use a movement ability to quickly get out, or possibly even have the ability to step out of it. Usually this ult is something that is going to force out a defensive ultimate from the enemy team. So that's really good. And I think just having an ability that does chunk out half of something's HP is really good. I mean, like with a tank, that's especially good because there aren't many things in the game that just chunk a tank out to that degree. So that's pretty good. I think overall, I guess one thing is he can get stunned out of it. That can happen. So I think it's a good ult. I don't think it's quite as good as like Grav. So I'm gonna put it top of B tier. Possibly could move it to A, but I think I'm comfortable putting it B. It's a good ult. It's definitely a good tank ult. Next we have D.Va with self-destruct. Self-destruct. It's a pretty interesting ultimate just because I think it has a lot of different uses for a D.Va player. So first thing is you have the ability to propel it and launch it, so you can actually kind of shoot it out, arc it so it actually drops down somewhere and kind of catch people off guard. That's one thing. I mean, I've had teammates that have gotten 5K D.Va bombs. I've been a part of it where they just hit it just right, they arc it just right, and it does 600 damage, so it's basically gonna kill everybody it manages to hit. D.Va also, it kind of acts as, it can be an extra life, so if she gets knocked on a mech and has ult, she can just hit Y and force people to get away from her, and then she should be able to get back in mech right away after it. So I mean, that's a pretty good use of it. It can also be comboed to a certain extent with other alts, so you can like throw it up, and then if you have Reinhardt on your team, he can put his hammer down, and then by the time your mech does self-destruct, it'll probably kill a few people. The combos are a bit harder to set up just because there is about 3 seconds between when you press Y and when the bomb actually goes off. So it's not quite like Dragon Strike and Grav where it's pretty much just instant. There is a little bit more involved to setting it up. But I really like the versatility of self-destruct. A few of the counterplay options would just be shields in general. Defensive ults kind of. I think you need to time it right. Well, I should say sound barrier. You can counter it if you time it right. It does completely counter Transcendence because it does 600 flat damage. So, like that, Transcendence will not out heal it. So I would say I'm kind of torn between whether I want to put it in A or B tier. Because it's more of a standalone ultimate than anything else. So I think I'll put it top of B tier just because it doesn't really set up for anything else per se. So I think I'll keep it there. Next we got Hammond with his minefield that he drops. I think it's pretty good ult. I think it works really well with his kit as well. With him just constantly diving in and kind of causing a distraction, causing a ruckus, against the enemy team, especially their back line. I think it's a really good tool for like zoning people off a certain area because you don't really want to be walking through an entire minefield because you'll get messed up pretty quick, especially if you're not a tank. So I think it's really good for that. It can a lot of times force out a support ult. It's really, really good when Hammond comes in, drops down, knocks everybody up, drops his mines, and they're super immobile characters that can't just, quickly get out of it. So it's really good at countering, like, Ana, Zen, who else? Mercy, possibly, because she has to, then fly through it. Moira and Lucio, a little bit less so. Like I said, it can a lot of times force out a support ultimate. I'd say the easiest counter to it would be just a Rein or Sigma just pushing their shield through the mines, and they just blow up and it does damage to the shield. But then again, it does get rid of a shield, and then your whole team can kind of capitalize on that. So I think mine's are pretty good. They work pretty well with Hammond's kit. I think I'm be willing to put it B tier. I don't think it's. I think Self Destruct's still a little bit better. I'll put him here. I think Graviton Flux is a little bit better than mine's, but you know, it's still good. All B tier. B tier's really solid. Next we got Earthshatter, Reinhardt. I've always been on the unlucky end of Earthshatters because I still feel like it is one of the just glitchiest ults in the whole entire game. Just because of its interaction with stairs and different levels of elevation and everything like that. I mean, Blizzard has said they fixed it like 800 times, but like I never feel like it's ever really gone through correctly. But Earthshatter is a solid ult. Reinhardt, when he does hammer down anything within that sort of, it's not exactly a straight line. It's a straight line, but then it kind of like expands outward. A little bit further, a little bit wider. So it does knock everybody down so they're unable to move, which is great setup for a ton of different things with your team. Either you just go in, you shoot them up and you kill them, or it can force out support ult. Easiest counters to Earthshatter is put a shield in front of it and block it. Usually with the Reinhardt matchup, that's usually what the other one's trying to do is block the other one. So that's easy counter. Using a support ult in response to it if your supports didn't get knocked down. You can stun Ryan during the animation. That's another thing that can counter it. But the counterplay, though it could be considered easy, I think it's easier said than done to kind of play the mind games with the enemy Reinhardt and know when he's going to do it as far as like blocking his shield. So just because it's a complete stun within the radius, people get knocked down, they can't do anything, and that sets up your teammates to do whatever. They can combo other ults with it. I would say it's A tier. Probably not quite as good as Grav, but I think it's right with it with the setup that it has for your team. Next, Primal Rage. So Winston's ult, it turns him into a type of berserk state where he gets double the HP, goes from 500 to 1,000, and his jump cooldown is drastically decreased. I believe it goes down to about 2 seconds. I believe Primal Rage lasts for 10. It's good for when the Winston needs to be really aggressive and dive in, and then once he gets turned on by the enemy team, if his HP gets low, you can pop ult, and then you're actually just back up to full health, and you get double the health. He also loses his Tesla cannon, and then he starts swinging his fists around, and he starts hitting people. When you hit people, it does actually have a knockback effect, which I would say the distance is pretty similar to like what Lucio's boop ability is. So that's like pretty solid. It can be good at knocking people off of the map and causing environmental kills, which is pretty solid. Because there isn't necessarily a lot of counterplay to that, especially with like heroes like Zenyatta or Ana, heroes that don't have like a vertical or horizontal movement ability that can quickly get them back on the point. The thing with Primal Rage, though, is it is a double-edged sword for sure. Problem with it is, Winston, they typically don't just pop it right away. They typically pop it when their HP is low. So they get knocked down about 400 to 450 HP, and then they pop Primal Rage. And if your team doesn't win that team fight, and honestly, even if they do, you just fed a lot of HP worth of ultimate, and that could be detrimental for the next team fight, or honestly for the whole map, because, I mean, once you start getting ult disadvantages, it's going to be tough to claw your way back unless you play really well. I think for what it is, it's okay. It, like, plays well with Winston's kit. I think it's probably, like, C tier. It's not particularly particularly great because of the negatives. All right, last but certainly not least, my favorite tank in the whole game, Roadhog. I love this guy, but his ult kind of sucks because it's whole hog. It basically Roadhog puts an attachment on his scrap gun, and then he shoots out rapidly a lot of scrap in a big radius, and it also causes knockback with everything he hits. It knocks them back. Overall, it can be okay as far as potentially getting like an environmental kill, or what it's really good for, and what I often use it for is like I hook like a tank in, or I hook anything in, and let's say I don't finish it off and I have whole hog, I'll usually just use whole hog to finish it off because it does do a lot of damage very quickly. The problem is you need to be close to Roadhog for it to maximize its damage value, because otherwise this scrap spreads really far out. So it's good for like finishing off kills is one. It's really good at breaking shields because shields don't get knocked back, so that it just takes all that damage. It can be a good shield break tool. But other than that, it's just not particularly great. I would say it's the worst tank ult in the game, so I will put it in D tier. I think D tier is fair. All right, so that's my tier list for all of the tank ultimates in Overwatch as of the June 30th, 2020 patch. This list was quite a bit shorter just because there are a lot less tank heroes in the game. It's kind of weird looking at that there are only, 8 of them? 8 of them so far, and there are, I believe, 17 DPS heroes. But yeah, I mean, these tank ultimates are some of the most impactful in the game. And yeah, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I will be recording the support ults next. But like I said before, the tank and support may be up first for the DPS just because of some of the issues I've been having with uploading it to YouTube. But I will catch you guys in the next one. Everybody have a good one. Bye.